Hello and welcome to the instructor orientation for EDIT 4170. Thank you so much for agreeing to teach for us. I really do appreciate it and hope that this little orientation will help you feel more comfortable going into the course. Certainly you can feel free to contact me anytime, but hopefully I have created this in a way that will allow you to go back to things as you need to and just refresh your memory as needed when the time comes during the semester and certain things come up. So good luck to you. I hope all goes well. So I'd like to begin with a few general things about teaching at CSU Stanislaus that are not unique to EDIT 4170. Certainly all of these things are going to probably come up for you at one point or another during the semester. So first off is how you access your roster. If you go to the main CSU Stanislaus website, you will see up here in the upper right hand corner of the screen a link to My CSU Stan. Students will also see that. And then you're going to go ahead and log in with your campus username and password. Whoops, let me try again. And when that loads, you're going to see the Faculty Center come up by default, and that's going to give you access to your class roster, and it will also give you access to your grade roster. Now, the grade roster isn't actually going to allow you to assign grades until a week before the end of the semester. So even if you have a class that ends earlier than that, you cannot officially assign grades until the grade roster is open. And Kathleen Hidalgo will also send you an email at the time when grade rosters are available. Class roster is what you'll click to actually see who has enrolled in your class. When you initially get the roster up, because you're likely teaching only one class, that's probably what will appear here. If you have more than one section, you can click Change Class to go back and forth between them. And then if you just scroll down, it shows you who's enrolled in your class. You will not get a hard copy of the roster. You will need to look online. So in addition to who is enrolled, you will see information about them. It will show you whether they're in the multiple or single subject credential program or special education credential program. You might have a few students who say senior over here and then libs, or it might be senior and it might have a subject matter major like mathematics. You might also have a few students where it says graduate and then counselor education program over here. So that will just give you a little bit of information about how to read the roster. If you mouse over the student's name at the very bottom of the screen, it's actually out of the screencast-o-matic view right now, it shows you that student's email address, which is also the email address that any messages you send to them through Blackboard will go to. Also, if you click on the triangle next to enrolled, you will see a list of any students who have dropped your section at one point or another. And if your section has a wait list, you'll also see the word wait list here. And if you go to the wait list, it will list the students on the wait list in the order that they put themselves there. So the first person on the wait list should be the first person given the chance to enroll if that's an option. Also important here is class permissions. Once the semester begins, the only way students can be added to your section is by a class permission number, and you have access to those here. So any unused permission number like this one can be given to a student, and then it's the student's responsibility to go into his or her My CSU Stan account and add that permission number, which then will add the class. So that's the only way that a student can be added. You cannot add them. You can manually add them to Blackboard, but putting them in Blackboard doesn't officially enroll them in your class. So in addition, the university has a policy that prevents students from adding classes after the first week. So if there is some extenuating circumstance in which students were not able to add during the first week of classes and want to add your class late, they have to do that with a special form. It requires signatures from a lot of different people. It may also require a $10 fee depending on when it is. So if you encounter a situation like that, let me know and I'll walk you through what needs to happen in order to process that. Students can drop themselves online with their MyCSU Stan account prior to the census date, which occurs 4 weeks into the semester. So you don't need to sign anything or do anything. They don't need to let you know. It will just happen automatically. And after your first class, if students don't show up and it's before the census date, you can do an instructor withdrawal by emailing Kathleen Hidalgo, and she can make sure that that information is communicated to our enrollment services office, and that way the student will be removed from your roster. A little bit of information about the class in general. EDIT 4170 is a requirement for students in credential programs. So that includes the multiple subject, the single subject credential program, pupil personnel services program, which is for school counselors, and if students have a joint credential in special ed and multiple subjects, then they need to take it as well. So they have the option of either taking this 2-unit EDIT 4170 class, or they can take a technology CSET test, which we don't administer on our campus. They can contact our credentials office in order to find out more information about that. Certainly, I don't encourage it. The test doesn't really require them to demonstrate that much competency. So I think especially now as schools are really getting into more technology, that the class is giving them a lot more experience. And it really is designed to introduce them to a lot of resources that they could potentially use with their students. And if not specific resources, it gives them opportunities to think about how technology can be used for creating, for collaborating, for communicating, and for doing a lot of different kinds of things that are independent of the grade level and the discipline in which they're teaching. So they might not choose to have their students engage in all of the activities that they're introduced to during class, but certainly if they never try these things, they don't find out about them at all. And because our faculty and the teacher preparation programs are not all really great about integrating technology, this at least gives them a broad introduction to a lot of things. They're not going to be an expert at anything as a result of what they do in class, but it does get them to think about use within an instructional context. And because the class is taken by multiple single special ed students and also pupil personnel services students, it means that the assignments are not customized for any grade level or discipline, that they're broad enough to be able to kind of fit within the context of all of the students. So again, things might not be a perfect match for everybody, but they'll give our students a lot of different things to think about and explore. And because we have multiple sections of the same class, we do use the same syllabus so that students aren't getting a different experience with each instructor. However, you have opportunities to modify the syllabus, modify the assignments, and certainly everybody who teaches for us has their own strengths that they want to bring into the class. And so I encourage you to do that as well. And in case you have questions that emerge during this semester, feel free to contact me. Email is definitely a good way. My phone number 667-3495. Our department administrative support coordinator is Kathleen Hidalgo. I have her phone number listed here and her email address listed here. So she's probably the contact person to get in touch with if you have, I don't know, room issues, questions about your contract, um, keys, and there may be things that she contacts you and other instructors about that you'll reply to her directly about. And then in terms of Blackboard specifically, I'm certainly willing to help with questions you have there too, but another resource is our campus Blackboard support person whose name is Bob Kaler, and he also teaches a section of EDIT 4170, which is really nice because if you have a question about something, he knows the class and knows generally what you're talking about. So he's a great resource person for that. So I've got his phone number and email address listed there. And then if for any reason something happens where you need to contact public safety, and I hope it doesn't, do call 911 if it's an emergency, or our local campus police number is 667-3114. If you have a Friday night or Saturday class, that number will get answered by the Turlock Police Department, but we do have active public safety officers all the time, including the weekends, so they just kind of work together to make sure that whatever is happening is addressed in the most appropriate way. So I think that I've covered most of the basic things and kind of giving you an overview of the course. So I'm going to go into Blackboard and kind of introduce you to some of the things there. So you can get into your Blackboard page by again going to the My CSU Stan area, or there's you can go there directly if you go to csustan.blackboard.com. And I just have it bookmarked, so I go there right away all the time. Your course name is going to appear up here. Right now I'm in the EDIT 4170 shell, which is what I update every semester, and then Bob Kaler kind of delivers that shell to everybody's specific course. So I don't have access to your specific Blackboard course, I just have access to the shell. So if you have a question, I can go into the shell to be able to see what's there, but I can't go into your class directly. Bob can. So if there's something that's a technical glitch in your Blackboard course specifically, he's the primary person there. But if it's content related to the course, I ought to be able to answer it. And the way that you see things, if you've been a student on campus, you'll kind of be familiar with the setup, but it's a little bit different as an instructor in terms of what you have access to. So the assignment and syllabus is the main area where things are located, and then we've got other areas as well. So first off, just with the assignment, there's just a couple things I want to talk about with regard to that. So when you click that link, it shows you initially that the item is not available, and I've done that because you need to go into your syllabus and make the updates that are based on your particular section and who you are, and then you're going to re-upload the new information, and you do that by clicking this little downward arrow, and you can say overwrite file. So that will change the initial document with to whatever you want to upload. And then if you click on the little down arrow here next to syllabus, then that gives you options for editing the entire item. And if you edit the entire item, there's a couple things that you can do. You can actually take out this statement, which is probably worth doing once you have it ready to go. And you can also, I'm going to change the width here. It gives you the option to mark something for removal, and you can upload a new document there as well. So you can do that from this particular window as well, and then permit users to view this content. You're going to want to change it to yes. So like I said, the default is no because it's not really ready to be launched, but you'll click yes once it is ready. And then over on the right, there's a submit button that you'll click, and that will update everything as you wish. The actual syllabus document has some things that you'll need to fill in. So your name, phone number. Phone number is optional. If you do include one, you might want to include a work number so students aren't calling a personal number. We really don't have offices for part-time people, so you might want to just get rid of that line completely. Email address, I would encourage you to use your campus email address just so that students don't have your personal email. If you are willing to meet with students via Skype, you can put a name, a username in there. It's entirely up to you. There are no actual office hour requirements for part-time instructors, so you can get rid of that completely. If you're willing to come to class 15 minutes before it starts to help, or if you have other arrangements that you want to make with students, you can put something down there. The first couple of sections on here, you're probably not going to change at all because they're the same for all of the sections, and some of the things that are listed there are kind of mandated by the university. In terms of attendance, we don't actually assign points for attendance. So if students aren't going to be there for whatever the reason is, excused, unexcused, it doesn't matter. If they're not there, it's their responsibility to make up the work. It's not your responsibility as an instructor to reteach something that happened during a class session. So I would just make that known to students, not make a big deal about it, but you don't have to teach the class more than one time. Um, Students aren't always very good about having backups of their work, so we've included information in the syllabus about cloud storage. I would just mention that to them on the first meeting, and then it's up to them to do what they want with it. And then in terms of workload, it is a 2-unit class, not a 3-unit class. So they don't have a lot of reading to do, and instead the bulk of their grade is going to be comprised of actual technology-based activities. A lot of the activities are going to be ones that they can at least start during class, and many of the students will be able to complete during class. But if they are not very experienced with technology or maybe specific kinds of resources, it might require that they work some out of class as well. And certainly there are assignments that all the students are going to have to do outside of class. But it is consistent with what expectations are for a 2-unit class. And then assignments, the due dates that are currently on the syllabus are ones that are generic across all the sections. So you need to customize it based on the days that you're actually meeting with your students. I also list the fair use disclaimer here that students can copy into assignments as appropriate, like their slideshow assignment. Then the grading, I think this is pretty standard across all the courses. There are no pluses or minuses in any of the sections of EDIT 4170. So the grades are just A, B, C, D. They have to get a grade of C or better in order for it to count toward their credential. You don't give an incomplete for something other than an extenuating circumstances, and if a student asks for that, let me know and I'll tell you how to handle all of it and whether it's worthy of an incomplete and all of those kinds of things. So the information about assignments here, I don't think will require any changes on the part of individual instructors, but when you get to the schedule at the end, this is where you might have to modify, and you're welcome to modify. The weeks may not align with your teaching schedule. For example, if you have a Saturday section that meets for 5 hours at a time or 6 hours at a time, you don't have 16 weeks. So you kind of have to adapt the schedule based on when you're meeting. We do have one article, it's short, or a video in Blackboard For each of the 16 weeks, really the 15 main weeks, and then the 16th week would be considered finals week. And we don't have a final exam, but it does mean that we've got 15 weeks worth of reading. So if you are meeting on a schedule like a Saturday schedule, it might mean that your students need to read and then participate in a discussion board for more than one article in any given week. And I'll show you how to access all of that in Blackboard once we get there. Then due dates are flexible. You can decide when you want things to be due. I would not extend the due dates very much because generally students tend to procrastinate and do things only right before they're due. And because there are so many small assignments in class, it's better if they're due very close to when you're introducing things to them. But again, you have flexibility in terms of when you want things to be due and how flexible you want to be. I typically impose a small late penalty, which I've described up here under assignments. You can decide how you want to handle that. That's entirely up to you as well. The class does end with WebQuest presentations. If you have a regular 16-week term, then it will take 2 weeks to be able to get through all of the presentations. If you have an extended class, then you kind of have to decide how many groups you have, and if you've got a 15-minute time limit for each group, whether you can get by with one class meeting or two, or how you need to handle it. So going back into Blackboard, also under assignments and syllabus, I do have a link that has whatever updates are launched for each semester. It's not available to students, but it is available to you just so that you can see. And then assignments are grouped by, well, actually the name of the assignment, and within each of the folders is a description for students that includes information about what they need to do as well as the scoring rubric. Those are all PDF documents. And then there are often other materials, like in this case there's a hyperlink to the resource that they're going to use. If you want to substitute in another resource, that's fine. Sometimes there might be an example of an assignment. There might be some kind of instruction resource or tutorial resource. And then there's always a Microsoft Word version of the assignment that's not available to students, but is available to you as the instructor. So if you want to make modifications to the assignment itself, you have the original Word document in which you can make those changes. And then if you do that, you'd want to come back up here and replace the assignment document with the one that you've modified. So in navigating, we can come back up here to go back one level, or you can click over here on the left to go back as well. So you can read through the different folders. I'm not going to go through all of them here. Just a couple of general comments about what's here. The information literacy assignment is one that you can choose to make an online assignment. I think I didn't mention on the syllabus, but there are 3 classes that could be online. So technology integration is one, information literacy is one, and then the web-based lesson is one. And in all 3 cases, the online component, if you choose, is a video that I've recorded, so you can require students to watch the video and then complete the activity. So those are all assignments where I don't think they necessarily need to be in class to complete it. If you want to, depending on whether you're meeting for 16 weeks or a modified version of the semester, you can make yourself available at different times or handle it however you want. So for those potential online assignments, then there is some note here indicating that the link to the online class session is in that folder, and where that applies, you see an actual link. So this one has a couple of different options right now. The other two are both YouTube videos that are a little bit more current. So it just kind of depends on the document. And then the actual assignment will follow underneath. This one is a fillable worksheet that they complete, and then there's an answer sheet for you as an instructor there as well. Some of the assignments are individual, some are group. The copyright web quest can be either individual or they can work with another class member, and that's explained in the assignment sheet. Podcasts can be completed with the partner if they want. Let's see. The video is a group activity. The ethics web quest is also a group activity that culminates in both the creation of a resource document and in a presentation at the last class. Okay, so that's sort of an overview of the assignment format and what's available to you. If you have questions about any of the specific assignments, you can definitely let me know. By the way, for the video assignment and for the podcast assignment, we have equipment in a cabinet in P120 that you'll have a key for. So students are welcome to bring their own resources as well, but we have enough for everybody. Okay, so under submit assignments, that's where students will go to submit everything, obviously. Sometimes if they're creating something that is an online resource, all they're going to submit to you is the URL, and they're going to put that in the comments box. I would suggest that you have it done this way as opposed to having students share documents with you in resources like Google. If they share with you in Google, it doesn't tie that shared information to the gradebook in Blackboard, whereas if they submit in Blackboard directly, then it also will create an automatic link to their score in the gradebook, so everything is kind of tied together that way. Let's see. The only thing that is different is the glog, which is the digital poster, because that one, you're the instructor assigned to Glogster, so you're going to automatically have access to the glogs of the students in your class, and they have to comment on two of their peers' glogs as well. But for you to know that theirs is done, then they're going to tell you that it's finished. So there will still be something here that ties it to the gradebook for you. The technology-based lesson plan is set up so that it will automatically get submitted through Blackboard to turnitin.com. So the icon in front of it looks a little bit different, and it just gives students the opportunity to ensure that they are doing a good enough job paraphrasing the content in that document. And there is a resource here that tells them how to read the turnitin.com report. We don't have too many issues with people copying and pasting lessons from other resources, but it has happened in the past. So just putting it through turnitin.com sort of discourages students from doing that. They know that you can see if that happens. I think the rest is pretty self-explanatory. In terms of actually grading what students submit, I wouldn't spend a lot of time on the smaller weekly assignments. Just kind of glance through it. It is only a 2-unit class, and it can take a lot of time if you want to put a lot of comments and effort into doing the grading, and that's really not the point. There is a rubric for each assignment. Just go through the submissions quickly, score it the way you feel is appropriate to score it, and kind of leave it at that. The only exceptions I would say would be the slideshow assignment, which is worth 40 points. It's the largest point value in the class. And then the technology-based lesson plan, which probably needs a few more comments. But other than that, it's don't take a lot of time to do the grading. Let's see, let's go to articles, videos, and discussion. On the syllabus, it lists the articles or video by class. You might need to renumber these, maybe put the class date or the due date for when the article or video needs to be read or discussed, or watched, I'm sorry. And then also inside that folder, in addition to the article or the video, there's also a link to the discussion. Now in the first class, there's actually not a discussion board. It's just some suggestions for what you might want to talk about. The first class is kind of an overview of technology in the classes, and you can choose to frame that how you want. So the first actual discussion comes in or before class 2. So students are supposed to read the article or view the video prior to coming to that class. So the first link will actually take them to the resource, and then the second link takes them to a discussion board. So there may be just a single question there. There might be a choice of questions. Statistics tracking is turned on so that as an instructor, if you want to make sure that students have participated the way you want, you can do that. So if you click on the down arrow next to the link to the discussion board, you can go in and edit, which would allow you to change the question. You can turn the statistics tracking on and off. You can view the statistics report, which would allow you to see what students have viewed. Quite honestly, I wouldn't do that here either. What I would do once the deadline comes is just go into the discussion board, and students will create a thread. But you'll just go in and make sure that each student has replied based on the question. They're supposed to read the posts of everybody, which you could check with the statistics report, but I think you just take your word for it, because otherwise it can end up taking a long time to do the grading. So there is a discussion board already established for each of the weeks, as well as an article or video. You're welcome to change if you want to, but I'm trying to make life as easy as I can for our part-time people especially. Class resources just has a few things in there like standards, APA, MLA, a few other things. You can add to it as you wish. Under faculty info, you'll want to create a contact and put your personal information in there. Homepage is where you can go during the semester if you want to add an announcement that will be available to all the students. Maybe you have to change a due date, maybe there's a technical glitch in something that's worth noting. So for whatever reason, you can click here to make an announcement, and you can either have it posted there, or you can have it deploy an email automatically, or both. Here's another way to get to the discussions. And groups, you actually probably don't need them. So if you want to get rid of something over here, you can just click on the down arrow over on the right, and you can hit delete, and that would take it out of there completely. So then the students don't see that either. Grades and feedback is where the students will go to see their scores. Because you're logged in as an instructor, it won't be available to you if you click it here. You'll have to get in another way. And then these things are pretty apparent. For general things about the course, you'll come down here to Control Panel. The students won't see this. This is just an instructor panel. So a couple of things to be aware of. One is if you go to Course Tools and open up all of the options, one that's a good one to be aware of is Add a Test Student. If you choose to do that, it will allow you to log in with your own email address, but then you can create a separate password and it adds you as a student and not an instructor. And that way, and the way I do it is I log in using a different browser with my student account, and that way I can see things as the students see them as opposed to how the instructor sees them. So it's sometimes nice, just if you're testing things out, to make sure that it's visible the way you expect it to be visible for students. You can also access announcements here. You probably aren't going to do a lot with any things. The discussion board you can access up top a little bit more. If you want to send an email to everybody in the class or to certain students, you can do that right here. It will send it to their CSU Stan email, so it's a good idea to let them know the first day of class that they should be checking their CSU Stan email regularly, or they should have their CSU Stan emails forwarded to another account. Set grade center due dates is a good one to know about because we have so many assignments in the class. So if you click that, then when you first go in, I haven't entered any due dates because it's different class by class. So you can make things available and you can add the due date that you want to have, and it's got all of the assignments listed so you can see everything at once as opposed to going into the gradebook and doing it differently. Now I do notice that there are some things that appear here that have been deleted from the course. So obviously make due dates to only the things that we're using in this semester that you're teaching. And then I think that's just about everything under course tools that will be useful to you. We shouldn't need anything under evaluation. Under Grade Center, this is going to be where you go to see whether students have submitted things. If a student has submitted something, if you click Needs Grading, it will open up a window where everything that needs to be graded but hasn't been graded is going to appear in a list. And you'll just click on the document, you'll be able to put a score in, and then it's linked directly to that student's gradebook. So when there is something listed here, it will open up in a preview window. So unless it's a URL, if it's an actual document, you'll see a preview of it here, so you don't even need to open it in, let's say, Word or another resource. It's pretty user-friendly, I think. I think you'll pick up on it really easily the first time something is submitted. If you need to go to the Full Grade Center, you click that right here, and that will be populated with your entire student list. Right now, because I'm in the shell, I don't see any student names, but under each assignment, there would be a spot where I could enter a numerical score if I needed to. And then also when you're in this view, under each assignment, you can click, you can hide things, there's a lot of different things you can do. And then also up here under Manage, if you go to Column Organization, you can change the order of things if you feel the need to do that. So there's a lot of different things that you can manipulate there if you want to. And I think the only other thing you might need to access is users and groups. If for some reason you have a student who does not yet appear on your roster, perhaps the student is just adding your course with the permission number at the first meeting. Blackboard does get populated every night at midnight or sometime during the night, but if you want your students to have immediate access, you can click here under Users, and you can find users to enroll. And you can then type in the student's username, browse, or you can type in a last name and hit browse until you find the student, and then you can submit. So that would get a student into your Blackboard course immediately. I think that's everything that I want to go over. So hopefully it answers a lot of your questions and takes away a lot of apprehension that you have. I'm happy to meet with you one-on-one. I'm happy to talk with you on the phone or via Skype. Just let me know if you have questions. I'm also willing, if it works, to meet with you just about your roster and whatever you need to do in order to make yourself feel comfortable with things. But don't hesitate to ask questions. I've been there before. I know, especially if it's the first college course that you've taught, that there can be some things that you just don't know about, and no question is a bad question, so feel free to ask. I hope the course experience is really positive for you. I know our students are going to greatly benefit from your expertise and experience, and so I'm really excited about the opportunity for you to teach with us. Have a great time.